I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? Okay, so I got a guy that changed his mind mid celebrity status, kind of like, I don't know what he did. I don't know why he did it, but we're going to find out today. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that like button, that follow button, whatever you're doing. Don't forget to come back. Okay. We have an amazing show for you today. We're going to mention names that I never thought I would be able to say that was in my show, but it's okay. So Kevin Krebs, welcome to the show. I hope I said that right.
You did. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. Okay, so we were talking earlier about this whole thing, but first and foremost, please tell everybody who you are and what you do today.
Yes, my name is Kevin Krebs, and I'm the founder of a company called HelloCollege, and we work with high school students and their families to navigate the increasingly expensive and competitive journey of getting into the right college, figuring out what they want to do, helping them with building their lists and test prep and essays and apps and financial aid and scholarships. And ultimately, there are a lot of great young people out there, and they just need a little mentoring and guidance to help make what we think is probably the biggest decision of their lives.
It is. Besides buying a house, it is. Definitely is. So let's go back in time. Let's kind of, let's go back and talk about what we were talking about before, because you said you were in the entertainment business and now you're into colleges. I mean, how did that get to here?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, going way back, I was a first generation college student. So my parents came over after World War II, 3 kids, pregnant, $20, 1 suitcase, didn't speak a word of English. I had 4 older siblings. They all started at community colleges, got their 4-year degrees. 3 became full-time teachers and 1 became a sub, but they dedicated their lives to teaching young people. I came along 15 years later. My oldest sister was 21 when I was born, so I came along in the 70s.
Wow.
And fortunately, I was into music, I was into television, and I was pretty good at sports. And I ended up getting a football scholarship to Northwestern, and I majored in broadcast journalism. And my passion was always writing and television and documentaries and music videos. And my journey, was a little bit of roundabout. Had to get my master's, but eventually I started a pretty cool production company in Chicago, and did the Chicago Bulls highlight videos back in the day with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, and then met a couple of great guys, and we started a bigger production company, and we became the Midwest Production Bureau for ESPN and the NBA and the agency of record for the Big Ten. And then the coolest thing was I met a guy from Clear Channel Communications, which is now Live Nation. And Soldier Field was closed, and the White Sox were a client of ours, and the Rolling Stones were going to play in Sox Park. And so he hired us to basically do a video about the transformation of this ballpark from Major League Baseball stadium into concert venue. And we just hit it off. And then from then on, we worked on a bunch of music projects together, including some cool stuff with Jay-Z. And I got to hang out in a locker room with a half hour alone with Beyonce. So that wasn't too bad. That worked out pretty well. And so did some cool stuff. But, really my passion after my journey as a first generation student at a really selective school like Northwestern was it could be pretty intimidating. And so I helped start a nonprofit in Chicago, mentoring Chicago public school kids to kind of get them into college. And then I started working with kids at Northwestern, first generation students and student athletes. And so when I sold my interest in my production company, I said, what do I want to do next? And I just loved helping kids, figure it out and give them all the things that I think a lot of us wished we had when we were teenagers trying to figure out, what we wanted to do and who we wanted to become and where we should go.
I still don't know. I think I could change my mind at any given moment, beware.
Yeah, well, I tell the kids all the time, some kids say, well, I don't know what I want to do. And you don't say it that way. You say you have diverse professional interests.
Okay.
That's the way to do it.
Excuse me. Hello, diverse professional investments, interests. I'm cuckoo.
Yeah, well,
I'm all over
that's
the place.
Northwestern. That's the Northwestern journalist coming out, you know.
I hear you. I hear
Wordsmithing,
you.
wordsmithing.
I hear you. You know, it's just so amazing how you had started in in the industry like you did, and then to move over to your dream, your love, what what you're doing today. What kind of skills did you take from that to get and still use today?
Just determination, grit, perseverance, drive, empathy. I mean, all the things that I think my mother instilled in me, because we grew up dirt poor, man. We didn't have a damn thing. But I never quit. My parents both worked 2 jobs and side jobs and weekends, and they did it, man. They put 5 kids through school and
Wow.
owned a couple properties, and they never made more than 23 grand a year, and they did it. And so when people come into a roadblock, a lot of people quit or they give up, and that was just not in my DNA. And so despite going into a new industry, I didn't see anybody doing it the way I thought HelloCollege wanted it to be. It wasn't about just get a bunch of uber wealthy kids into Ivy League schools, and that's cool. We can do that. But for a lot of families, it's helping these kids figure out what they want to do, and then building, kind of a college list that makes sense. And so, really what I thought was like kids were, okay, who's playing on ESPN this weekend, right? Or, where did my mom and dad go to school, or who's got the coolest, fraternities or sororities? And I said, you know what, we've got to do this in a more strategic way. So we came up with a pretty cool system, and we've talked to over 30,000 families around the world about this process. And we call it SAFE: social fit, academic fit, financial fit, employment fit. So how big, how far, what do you want to do, and can you get in? How much is it going to cost? And are you going to get any financial aid and scholarships? And then what's that employment fit going to be in terms of the job market and starting salaries and alumni network, and really look at this thing more strategically and very, very, I think, purposefully and tactfully, not sugarcoating it. And just being pretty direct with the kids, but coaching them up and giving them something to shoot for. And I think when kids have a coach or a teacher or whatever, or a mentor holding them accountable, and giving them the proper guidance, I call it strategic touch. We're at these kids' lives in a very interesting time. And for a lot of families, it's way different than when we went to school back in our day, or for a lot of our families, maybe they didn't even go to school here in the United States. So it's really about just helping them navigate this journey in a smart way.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I have a few questions.
Yep.
A few questions. Okay. The first question is, with the times being the way it is, and people doing online courses and certifications and things like that, do you suggest that they do maybe a certification or take a class or 2 at the preferred university before they make a decision? Or, I mean, how is that working nowadays?
Yeah, I think, the interesting stat, and I'll throw this right back at you, Yaya. What percentage of college kids change their major?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think it's a lot, because I changed like twice.
Yep. So it's 80% change and 50% change 2 or more times.
Oh my gosh. I was in the 50.
One of the things that we do with our students when they're in high school is we do a lot of assessments to try to help gauge their interests and their natural abilities.
Gotcha.
And then it's like a 2-hour test. And we've used it on over 2,000 kids, and our kids only change majors 14% of the time. So we do that test. Wow. And then we do informational interviews, we do job shadowing, we do experiential learning opportunities, all to get them to find something that they're passionate about. Or if they think they like something and they don't, all right, great. We saved them a lot of money, because now they don't have to change majors and go on the 5 or 6 year plan. So we're trying to do that a little earlier. And not, some kids know, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer. Other kids, they've got diverse interests, and that's cool. So we want to figure that out. And then maybe when they get to college, they go to a college that's got a little bit more curriculum flexibility their freshman, sophomore year. So it's all part of this big, intricate jigsaw puzzle. It's super fascinating. I absolutely love just every little facet of this journey is really fun.
I wish somebody would have done that to me. You know how many times I changed my major? Oh my gosh. It was like, oh, I want to do this. Nah. I want to do this. Nah. I
Yeah.
think I was in that. I was in that 50%. But so that whole thing about doing that, in high school and doing those tests and everything, that is amazing because I mean, yeah, you definitely have to get them while they're young. But what about older people who maybe, they didn't go to college and now their dream is to get an associate's, to get a bachelor's, even maybe to get a master's or a doctorate degree?
Yeah, the continuing education, the adult learning community is huge. I think COVID really sparked a lot
Yeah.
of people to say, what do I really want to do? And especially now that I think we have a lot more flexibility with work from home and things like that. We've seen a lot of people go back and pivot. I've got a ton of moms who have been raising their kids that now want to re-enter the workforce, and they go back and they get a radiology degree or a nursing degree. Or, my sister, changed careers. One of my sisters, she was basically in hotel management for 25 years, had kids, went back, got her teaching degree, and then taught for 15 years. And so it's definitely possible. And I think that adult learner, is a big part. It might not get the press that all these
Right.
Ivy League schools and stuff do, but from a university standpoint, especially for the non Ivies or whatever, that is a big part of their student population. Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you help these people maybe get the grants, get the, try to choose something in their area? Because I mean, by the time, you've had your kids, you've got situated, you're stable, you don't want to leave to go to college. Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah, no,
how is it that's something that you help with?
I'd say our traditional market is more of the high school and college kids
Hmm.
that are, but we get calls all the time. I had a mom from Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, raised her kids. She worked in the hotel and entertainment industry, and now kids are getting a little older, and she was
Hmm.
looking to go back and get her degree. So I think that's a trend that we're going to kind of keep an eye on, moving forward. That application process is a lot different, for the older adult student than it is for the traditional high school into college student. But
Right.
I think that's a wave that's going to continue to grow.
Wow. Okay. So, universities, colleges, scholarships, grants, Pell, was it Pell grants and
Yep.
all kinds of different things, book grants and this grant. Okay. By the end of the day, the parents may not be able to afford, sending them straight to college. So what is the process by which they can go, and when they contact you, what should they have?
Yeah, I think there are many facets to what we do. For about 70% of families, finances are a big part of the conversation. So that's 70% of families, and we always kind of start with education. And we have 100 free webinars that we do every year, probably 8 to 10 a month. So if anybody wants to
Wow.
check some of those out, you just go to sayhellocollege.com, check out our events page. But when we're specifically talking about affordability, there's two buckets of money. So, right, there's the overall sticker price, and then there's need-based financial aid and scholarships. Okay, so need-based aid is what you get when you fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and all the financial aid paperwork. So you're going to get grants and work study and student loans. And then merit scholarships are scholarships that the kids get for good grades and good test scores. So we start with saying, okay, like, what's the sticker price? And now, are you going to be eligible for need-based aid? Are you going to get a merit scholarship? And now, what's the remainder? Sometimes we work backwards, and I just ask a family straight up, like, what do you got every year before loans? What can you
Mhm.
afford? 5 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand? Money's no object. Let's start there, because if you say I can afford 30 grand a year and the college is 70 and you don't qualify for aid, then why the heck are we looking at that college in the first place, right? So,
Yeah.
so these are the conversations that I think, I think most people appreciate the directness, because I think a lot of people sugarcoat stuff,
Yeah.
and people can borrow up to the full cost of attendance, and so without any, guarantees or anything, it's not like qualifying for a mortgage. They literally, unless you've like declared bankruptcy, you can borrow as much as the full cost. So, but our whole thing is our rule of thumb is don't borrow more than the starting salary in your major, or else you're not gonna be able to pay it back. I mean, and so there's just some, I think some basic X's and O's that we try to walk families through, and that's part of our curriculum. So what we've done is we've built a curriculum. Some of it is academic focused, some of it is career focused, some of it is working with the families on the financial understanding of the process, and then there's the test prep and the essays and the apps and all the stuff that falls onto the kids. And when you're looking at college applications now, the numbers are just through the roof compared to what they were 3, 5, 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things, like my daughter doesn't want to do any loans. Right. She doesn't want to do loans. So she's been doing certifications, but that's on her. That's what she wants. Some children just don't want to go to college yet. And they may decide later down the line, they want to go to college. That's fine. But for those people that maybe didn't get the best scores on the SATs in their college entry tests, maybe they didn't test great. Maybe they're like, schoolwork is amazing, but then they choke on tests. Because I was one of those people. Right. What do they do when the work ethic is amazing, but then the tests suck?
Well, I think that's a great question, and you definitely didn't sugarcoat it. I think now there's a trend. It really got kind of heightened because of COVID, when for about 1.5 years, all these standardized tests were canceled because nobody was in school. Everybody was remote. And so a lot of the colleges, from some of the Ivies to the UCs out in California, they are now either test blind, which means you can't even submit a test score, or they're test optional, which means you can submit it if you've got a good one, but if you don't worry about it.
What?
Yep.
Stop. Hold the presses. You mean to tell me that it's even ground now? I mean, you know how many people don't want to go to college because they're scared of the tests?
I had a meeting earlier this week with a girl, almost straight A's, an amazing resume, ton of volunteer work, student council, team captain, great kid, and horrible test taker. And when I told this girl, I don't ever want to hear you say those 3 letters ever again, SAT, she literally said, oh my God, you just changed my life, because her parents were just hammering her because her SATs were low. And I said, 10 out of the 11 schools that you're looking at, you don't need to submit. So forget about it. No more stress. You're done. Let's focus on putting together a good app. Let's write some good essays. Let's hunt for some scholarships. Don't worry about it. And the girl just brightened up, and it changed her day for sure.
Okay, absolutely. Wait, we got to stop. We got to stop. Hold on a second. Because SAT was you had to get like top scores and stuff. I mean, I dreamed of SATs. Mm-hmm. And so now you don't even have, okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Not at every school, but not at every school. Over 1,000. Over 1,000.
Okay, so for over 1,000 colleges right now, SAT scores don't matter. So if you have been scared of test taking, no worries. Don't worry. Go to college. Get that degree. Go. Now before they change their minds, just go, okay? My gosh, that is amazing. That is amazing. I love it. Because now, these kids can actually go, no pressure, don't worry, get the grades. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, there have been countless studies done that have just basically said, your grade point average is a more accurate reflection of how you're going to do in college than how you performed on a standardized test for 3 hours on a random Saturday when you were a junior, and then to be perfectly blunt, a lot of communities don't have the advantages that some other ones do when it comes to test prep and other things like that. So I definitely think it's much more balanced and fair. With that said, your other stuff better be tip top. Your grades better be rocking. You better have a good resume, essays, applications, interviews. And so I call it packaging. That's what we call it. It's coachable, but you got to have the good grades. You got to have the right activities. If you have the good grades and the good activities, you can write better essays. You're going to have a better app. You can do a better interview. And
Mhm.
so, you can't say, okay, cool, I don't got to worry about testing. And then you're a C+ student that hasn't done anything except play video games, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's
I
so,
got you.
I mean,
I understand.
we want to make sure that the kids know that if you're going to go test optional, the other facets of your application are going to have a greater sense of importance.
Yeah. Now let's talk about those children that did not do well, but really have the dream of going to college and being a part of, and getting their associates, their bachelor's degree, but their grades weren't that good. They really learn on a different plane. Some people learn visually, some people learn audibly, some people are not they just don't understand their teachers. What do they do?
Yeah, it's interesting now because I think education has evolved. You
Mhm.
talked a little bit earlier about certification programs. There are a lot more, online programs, some great ones out there that I think have opened the doors to higher education for a lot more kids. I think the biggest thing, and you touched on it, is just really understand your learning style. Some people were never taught how to study. I'm definitely, I'm a visual and I'm a tactile learner. So I got to look at it and I got to write it.
And I got to
But
write
like,
it.
if I have somebody like blah, 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 it's going to just go. And so when I was at Northwestern undergrad, grad school, I was taking notes. I'm reading my notes. I'm highlighting my notes. And I didn't even know. I just figured that's the way I remember it. I looked at it and I engaged with the material. Other people, they record their lectures and they play them back, on their phones. And, so there's a lot of different tips and tricks. And then to me, for a lot of kids, if they haven't, maybe they hit their stride a little later in high school and they want to, a community college, a 2-year degree and associates, that's a fresh start. And so, but you really have to be committed. I think that's the big thing is, and if you don't understand what you want to do, it's a lot nicer to do it at a community college paying a couple grand than at a 4-year school paying 50 grand, changing majors twice and taking 5.5 years to graduate. So there's a lot of different ways to navigate this journey. And I think I always say when we have our webinars, everything works better in life when you have a plan.
Definitely.
And you have the plan and you could always pivot a little bit, but if you're just kind of winging it, the stats prove that winging it hasn't worked, because I'm going to throw some stats at you right now. Let's see how good you are.
Okay. I'm not very good, but go ahead.
what percentage of kids in the United States graduates in 4 years?
4 years. I don't know. I'm not very good at these stats. I'm going to guess.
Yes.
I'm going to guess 30%.
Pretty good. 24%.
Okay.
The average length of time is 5.8 years. And 40% of kids who start college never finish. So that's a major problem. Now you say, okay, the kids, 24% graduate in 4 years. What percentage of kids graduates with a job in their major?
12.
21%. Right?
I was way under because I didn't think it happened.
21% graduate with the job in their major. 70% have student loan debt. And so now you got 37% of young adults in the United States living at home with their parents, right? And I mean, listen, I got 3 girls, I love them to death, but I'm ready for them to roll. It's great, but 2026 can't get here soon enough. But so, to me, it's understanding what the goals and objectives are. I think one of the benefits that we're trying to do and put it out there to the world is we have a ton of free resources. So we've partnered up with schools and school districts. We do all this free programming through our webinars and just different resources on our website. And we put it out there to the world. And for the small group that wants to come in and get a little extra hand holding, we're there. We spend a ton of time with our kids. I mean, we are doing something with them, once or twice a month throughout high school. To just manage to better and more successful outcomes. That's ultimately the goal. And, we could talk about, hey, our kids get into Ivy League schools in Northwestern and University of Chicago 4 times greater than the national average. That's cool. Or I could say, I've got kids whose families make 50, 60 grand a year going to $85,000 schools for free.
Wow.
But they didn't know, like I've got one student His dad was a single dad corrections officer in Chicago. Okay, 2 kids, and he went to a Catholic high school. His dad was scraping by to keep him in Catholic school, and we were putting together his list, and he had all of these just schools that were not at his level. And I said, what about Princeton? What about Northwestern? And the dad said, those cost $80,000. I could never afford that. And I said, Mr. Almeida, Caesar's going to get into one of those schools, and it's going to cost less than your high school. Wow. And I'm so confident in that if he doesn't, I'll give you all your money back. And he's like, all right, bet. And Caesar and Almeida, spring of 2014, he called me up crying, said, Mr. Krebs, I got into Northwestern, crying. Woo! And his dad picked up the phone and said, and we're paying $8,000 a year for a $74,000 school. Now he went to Northwestern, graduated, Fulbright scholar, and was a teaching program in Ghana. I mean, he's changing lives now. Wow. And so for me, after you get a few miles on the tires here, right, and help 3,000 kids, now you've got alums, right, that have gone through, and now they're reaching back and helping this next group. And right. We call them our ambassadors. We've got our ambassadors now in college and in the real world. We've got parents as part of a mentor network. We've got parents all around the country helping our students with job shadowing and informational interviews and internships. And it's just really cool when you can find a group of people, and we've got an amazing staff, great counselors and essay coaches and support staff and tutors that just have a real passion for helping kids. And I think kids and parents can see it. They can see it when people really care about them. They know who's blowing smoke and who's legit. Because to me, hey, if we get you into a fancy school, great. But the bumper sticker is only a piece of it. It's what you do when you get there. And that's really what we're trying to instill is like, hey, no matter where you go, we want you to be the best version of you. And then take that into the world and then give that back to your younger siblings and this next group of kids that we're going to have coming through.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's when COVID hit, some of these kids had to go straight from the social life that they had all the way through to nothing, being at home, not understanding, having to go through classes online, which was for me a pain in the butt because my daughter was in her last 2 years of high school and she never got any help from her teachers. She had dance classes and stuff and she had to do it online. It was weird. The whole thing was just a mess. And her grades really did suffer. She scraped by and graduated in 2020 online.
Yep.
And I think that she really got discouraged because she was like, I'm stupid. And I go, you're not stupid. It's just the way that you used to learn. You weren't used to it. And so 2 years and no help, no tutoring, no after school, no library, no nothing, no nothing. What can we do and what can we say for these kids who were doing amazing and then that kind of just wiped them out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting choked up now just because kids have suffered.
Yeah.
Mental health. My 2 younger daughters have dealt with anxiety and depression and some really gut-wrenching stuff as a parent to watch your kid go through that. And it was hard, right? Because you go from an in-person classroom setting to then all online. Maybe you had a teacher that wasn't good on technology and kids really, I think you're going to see the repercussions of COVID for over a decade. No doubt about it. And obviously I feel bad for, your daughter who graduated in 2020. We had a class of about 300 students that year, 350. And we did a virtual graduation ceremony for our kids. And it was really meaningful to them because I feel like a lot of them felt like the school forgot about them. And it was just this lost group. And so
she doesn't want to go back to class. She doesn't want to go back to school. She hates school.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I think, just working with the kids, on the social emotional side is also a big piece. And I think that's a real need that's going to continue to impact elementary, secondary, and higher ed for a long time, is just being there to provide the social emotional support, and not just the academics, because it's all interrelated. And God bless these parents that were at home with little kids, and 2 parents trying to work and 3 kids. Everybody, I can't even imagine having little kids at home and trying to work. One of my coworkers, I mean, 3 kids at home, single mom. It's chaos. It's absolute chaos. And so, hopefully we're come out the other side. For some of the kids that are still in high school whose grades may have dipped, there are sections on their college apps where we can basically write almost like a disclaimer. There's an additional information section. There's a COVID question to really talk about, how that period impacted them, academically and socially and mentally. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And it's been an issue that we are working on as a company to address for ourselves, for our kids, and then for our families and the students that we try to help.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of kids and a lot of children at that time, the 2020 was really bad. It was like, okay, you graduate. They call like this whole line where you get in a line with your car and they give you all of your information. You just drive through and they all cheer for you, but that was it. And it was like, my daughter says, I hate school. I don't want to go to college. I hate college. I hate school. I hate teachers. I hate everything. She won't go. So, she wants to learn, she's learning, she's doing a lot better, but she won't go. But she may change her mind in the future. But the mental toll that this put these children through, including my daughter, was horrible. I mean, literally breakdowns. I've heard of kids having mental breakdowns and getting Baker acted because they're just they don't love themselves anymore. They thought, they got put in this whole self-containment unit where it was just nobody for such a long time. So, I mean, I know that this doesn't really affect too many people going to college now because they're back in school, but that time period, those kids, reaching out to those kids, can they watch your videos? Can they reach out to you and maybe they want to go, maybe they just don't understand what they need to do now? They've been impacted so much. How can they reach you? How can they reach out to you and see what they need and see how to build themselves back up again?
Yeah, no, I think, as I said before, part of this is just making sure that the kids become the best version of themselves, letting them know that it's okay. It's okay. That's number one, because, and I'm going through this, like I said, with my 2 younger daughters. My 8th grader hasn't made it through a week of school this entire school year, dealing with her anxiety and depression and issues. So, and I've got a ton of friends and a ton of clients, and they could be married and loaded rich, or they can be a single parent. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Socioeconomics doesn't matter. Race doesn't matter. Nope. These kids are hurting and they need support, and they need people to love them and believe in them. And so, if anybody would want to reach out to myself or one of our other advisors, they can go to our website, HelloCollege.com. They can book a consultation and we can just have a conversation, because part of this is, I'm a firm believer in education, but there are a lot of paths. There are many ways to go into this journey. The woman that I work with on a daily basis, Janine, her son wasn't ready for 4-year school. He did an associate's program. He did 9 credit hours per semester instead of 15. Took him a little longer, but he went through, got his associate's degree. He's now working in a hospital, graduating, no loan debt, no nothing, but he did it at his pace. Right. And he needed to know that it was okay, because, he's like, oh, I want to go to this school. I'm like, number one, your mom can't afford it. Number 2, that ain't the right major for you. Let's do this. And now he's graduating at the end of May. I believe it's like May 20th. Wow. And I'm so proud of him because he did it his way, and that's okay. So I think some people just need to hear it from somebody other than mom and dad, and somebody that doesn't sound like they're preaching, and just let them know that everybody's got a path, and definitely it's direct into a super selective four-year school, we can figure that out. Or if you're taking a little bit of a detour, now our job is to figure out how to get you on that right path.
Right. Well, I want to thank you so much, and talking to you and just seeing your passion, and getting these kids into college and getting them into a place where, first of all, they fit. Second of all, they're confident that they fit. And third of all, that they've got the support they need to fit. Fitting is a big deal. It's just if you don't fit somewhere, you literally just eject yourself, and we don't want that to happen. And that's why you guys need to go to this website. We're going to have all of that information. What is it again? Let me make sure.
Yeah, our website is sayhellocollege.com.
Say Hello College.
Check it out. And our events tab has a ton of free resources and all of our terrific webinars. And thanks again for having me on the show. And
anytime.
I wish you and your daughter the best. And
thank you.
We'll get some of your listeners to give us a shout.
Definitely. So if you've been thinking about college, regardless of your age, okay, you can reach out to sayhellocollege.com and they will guide you in the right direction. Regardless of whether or not they help you or not is irrelevant. These days with COVID and the mental health going through, we're going to need those free webinars. We're going to need all the support that we can get. And if you've been helped by Say Hello College, please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you, and also to encourage other people to go ahead and contact them as well. Man, I'm telling you, college is a big deal, especially for those people who want to go and further their education, and you can do it with sayhellocollege.com. Go and try it out and look it up and call them and watch all the video. Just do everything. You can't lose, guys. You can only win on this. I want to thank you so much, Kevin, for being on the show. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And don't forget to dare to be different, baby. Until next time, guys. Bye.